Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tarda Zone. Before we get going, there is no Tarda Zone talks tonight. Cheryl is feeling a little bit under the weather, so until she goes to bed, I'm basically just going to be looking after her and making sure that she's okay. So I've decided to do this pre-record because there is some interesting news. We had fans, particularly the fans that support this era, talk about Torchwood's return. Now, there has been a lot of talk about this as early as last year and the year before, because there's always been talk about bringing Torchwood back. Now they're talking about some sort of Torchwood reboot. Obviously, with the announcement of BBC returning back, I don't even know why they made it. What did they do? Didn't they make it a digital thing or a streaming thing? I don't fully understand what they did, but whatever they did, it didn't go to plan because BBC Three plans to come back. Now there's talk about Doctor Who Confidential, and Hugh Fullerton today put out an article about this. There's also a podcast on Torchwood, and the podcast was put up 3 hours ago by the Radio Times. So basically, Hugh Fullerton says, could BBC Three mean the comeback for Torchwood and Doctor Who Confidential? Right, listen, Doctor Who Confidential, I have no problem coming back. I absolutely loved that show. It was absolutely fantastic. When you got to watch a Doctor Who episode, then you can go and watch Doctor Who Confidential. And also, if you have the DVD box sets, I think it's the same with the Blu-ray. You get all the Doctor Who Confidential stuff, and it is great to see how people's minds work on these shows and how they come up with certain villains and how they put them together and stuff. So I would have no problem with Doctor Who Confidential's return. I don't think it will return under the Chris Chibnall era because I think it would expose a lot of the things that he gets wrong, and we would see how bad it actually is run and how bad it actually is. So I don't think that would actually go down well under his era. But definitely with the new showrunner, if a new showrunner does come in, I would be down for bringing back Doctor Who Confidential. It was part of the New Who era. We loved it. And then obviously when BBC Three moved from where they were to wherever they went, all of these shows, Doctor Who Confidential was cancelled. And then we had other things that were obviously cancelled as well. Obviously Torchwood started on BBC Three. So there has been talk of Torchwood, as we know, for the last couple of years. John Barrowman last year, didn't he visit Yanto's shrine in Cardiff? There's been a lot of talk from him about a possible Torchwood return. We do know that he does want to go back and do Torchwood again. It's very clear and obvious when he was in the festive special just recently gone that he still has fun playing Captain Jack. My problem is who's actually, if this was to return, who would be actually writing it? Who would be the showrunner? Because personally speaking, if Chris Chibnall was thinking of doing this, and we don't know if Chris Chibnall has even considered this, but here's the thing. He can hardly write Doctor Who as it is, and then you add on the added pressure of Torchwood, unless he leaves Doctor Who and then he goes and he does Torchwood. Maybe that could be a possibility. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. uh, in the comment section. But I mean, BBC Three was the home of alternative Doctor Who content, whether it was spin offs like Torchwood, repeats of the main episodes, or behind the scenes like Doctor Who Confidential or Torchwood Declassified. I remember that as well. I mean, look, this is an interesting conversation, but to me, all of this is irrelevant, right? Because the main show isn't in a healthy position to be even talking about Torchwood's possible return. Doctor Who Confidential, you could bring it back, but I'm telling you, if they brought it back under this current showrunner's era, it would, in my opinion, expose most of the flaws that Chris Chibnall has and his writing team has. I think it would. So I don't want Doctor, part of me would be like, yeah, why not? Bring it back. Let's expose how bad this guy actually is. But let's be honest, Doctor Who Confidential is a good show, and I'd like it to be, when a new showrunner is in place, and then they could show us how they came up with all of these concepts and created these villains and aliens and stuff. Because it's absolutely fantastic. I loved Confidential. It's one of those. It was great to watch it after the show had aired. I loved it, and I have to be honest. I was, like a lot of fans, devastated when they decided to pull the plug, which didn't go down well, if I remember, in the fandom. It actually didn't. But that was an indication that the show was starting to decline. Nobody has ever denied the fact that before Whittaker had come in the role, that the show wasn't on a slow decline. The problem is it's fallen off a cliff now. That's the difference, and the decline is much sharper. But to be honest with you, this to me is all ridiculous, because the main show is in such a state that I can't even think why they're even considering this, unless there is big plans behind the scenes. Maybe Chris Chibnall will switch over to Torchwood. You never know. I mean, I cannot sit here and be a hypocrite and say that I didn't like Torchwood. I did like Torchwood, and he was part of that. So maybe he is better suited to Torchwood than he is with Doctor Who. With Torchwood, it's a lot more adult themes, and I think that probably does suit him better than writing for Doctor Who. Because Doctor Who, he has to get the balance right between keeping the kids and the teenagers interested, but also keeping the adults interested. And I don't think he does that well on Doctor Who. If you see Doctor Who now, the current era, it's that childish, in my opinion, that you could really put this show on CBBS. There's not enough there to keep the adults, in my opinion, interested whatsoever. I know some out there will disagree with me, because that's the fandom that we live in. Everybody's entitled to a different opinion, but I just don't see any of this working. It's not going to work. You got to fix the main show, and right now Chris Chibnall hasn't got the balance. So maybe it would be a good idea. Look, it would make sense. It would make sense for him to shift over. Maybe bring in a new showrunner for Doctor Who. Why not? As I said, I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and say that I didn't like Torchwood, because I did like Torchwood. Season 4 was obviously ridiculous, but seasons 1 to 3 were absolutely, in my opinion, I loved them. I had a few dud episodes here and there, but overall, I really enjoyed that show. I'm not going to sit here and say any different. maybe he is better suited because, as I said, it deals with adult themes, and maybe he is more suited to that. And there's no shame in that. As I said, I don't think Chris Chibnall was right for the showrunner for Doctor Who. I said it when he was announced. I was baffled by that decision. Like a lot of fans, as I said, there's a lot of videos out there at the time when he was cast. People breaking down his writing style, and YouTubers out there saying he was a hack and that this wasn't working. Well, everything that they said has come true. It's come to fruition. He's just not good enough. So, for me, fix the main show first, and then we can talk about Torchwood. Now, this whole thing with a reboot, right, is what worries me. You don't need to reboot it, right? Right. It's quite simple. If you want to bring back, right, if this is the plan, that's why they want to do a reboot, so they could bring Gwen and the original cast back with maybe some additional members, right? There is a better and simpler way of actually doing it. Jack has a vortex manipulator. I mean, I'm pretty sure they could come up with an idea how we can get it working, right, and go back through time and actually save them when the events happened, when they all died in that episode. If you remember, when they all died he could go back and save them all, right? And then we could move on from there. They don't need to actually reboot this at all. Okay, maybe they're thinking of rebooting it because of season 4, because the way that actually ended, which was a bit of that kind of did annoy me and a lot of people. And season 4 was kind of all over the place. It was the one with the blood, wasn't it? His blood, yeah. There was some good elements in that, but yeah, I don't like the word reboot because sometimes it doesn't work out when you reboot these things. I think you can continue on. I mean, you could even be clever. You've got Gwen there. You could bring Jack. Obviously, Jack is there, and you could recruit, say, Martha Jones or something. You could recruit Mickey Smith. Well, actually, Noel Clark has. He's doing that show. What's it? What's that cop show he's doing? I haven't watched it yet, but I'm actually planning on watching it. But everybody knows the show, so he'd be busy. But you could bring people. You could bring people in, and you could bring some of the old cast back by, as I said, doing some clever little thing where Jack goes back through time. Why not? Why not? I know people will say, well, changing events, but you could bring back the old crew for, say, a couple of seasons, and then obviously then what Jack has done, there's consequences, and then you can introduce a new team then, but you'll have you'll have new team members coming in the 4th season, and then say the 2nd season, and by the 3rd season when you're doing the story arc where you're getting rid of the old team because of the consequences, you already have a new team in place and characters that are developing, characters that you will love. Just an idea I have. Obviously, some fans will have their own little theory, and that's what's great about fandoms. You can come up with your own little ideas, but I don't think a Torchwood reboot or any sort of Torchwood show is the right call right now when Doctor Who is not in the best state. And why do people say, well, why does it matter? Well, I'll tell you why it matters. Because imagine this. Imagine if Torchwood got more viewers, got a bigger audience watching than the main show, Doctor Who. That would be a bad indictment, and sad also, of the state of the show. It would be embarrassing. So that's why I think this is a bad idea. Look, there's some fans out there that will say, yeah, do it, let's embarrass. But I don't want the Doctor Who to be embarrassed. Okay? At the end of the day, Chris Chibnall was the wrong man. BBC have to live with that choice. There are consequences, and we see those consequences. But they've got a chance now to make it right. Listen, this Torchwood talk makes me think that there could be something in this, as in, maybe Chris Chibnall could go to Torchwood. Because if he used to leave Doctor Who, people would be wondering, well, what's next? What's he going to do next? Then BBC could announce straight away after they announce his departure, right? I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if they announce his departure, then they could say, yeah, he's leaving Doctor Who and he's going back to Torchwood. He's bringing back Torchwood. Then in some, well, I don't think some fans out there will think that he'll save face, but to the BBC and maybe to Chris Chibnall, that'd be some sort of saving face while they bring in a new showrunner for Doctor Who. Doctor Who has to get back to getting the balance right with keeping the teenagers, the kids, and the adults interested. There's not enough there. I'm sorry. There may be some adults out there that enjoy this. Well, that's fair enough. But if you look at the audience rating, the casual viewer, the fans that have tuned out, well, then it's not working for them. And there's a lot of adults, a lot of older fans that have walked away. This just isn't their jam. And that's where Chris Chibnall has gone wrong. He has failed to do what RTD did and what Stephen Moffat did to a certain extent. But RTD did it best. He was able to keep the casual fan interested, whether it was an adult, child, or teenager. And he was also able to keep the fans happy. And some of the old fans too. Right? That's the kind of showrunner we need. We need someone that is like an RTD, not RTD himself, but we need someone like an RTD to come in. Now, someone with fresh ideas, obviously understands the history of the show, but maybe isn't a fan. Someone that can look at this with a fresh perspective and give it something and actually give it a proper, injection of something good. I mean, whether people agree with it or not, the Jodie Whittaker casting, if you look back at it, it's all a gimmick. Everything that Chris Chibnall has done, the representation that he's tried to do, the so-called character developments of Tolson Cole's character and Ryan, who's supposed to be disabled, Manip Gill's supposed mental health issues, which weren't addressed properly. The whole thing with the cancer scene with Graham O'Brien when he's trying to talk to the doctor and all this socially awkward nonsense. That's not the kind of writing that brings Doctor Who fans together. It makes them angry because it's disrespectful. We need a showrunner to come in to do these things properly. If BBC want to inject their politics into a show, there are shows out there that have done it great. The Orville, for example. I mean, they even talked about issues around transgender and stuff and did it very well. Even though the showrunner is left-minded, he left it open for the audience to discuss it. He gave both sides of the argument, and the audience then, it got everybody talking. There was a discussion. That's the way it should always be, right? But with Doctor Who, everything that they tried to do is shoehorned in. The politics are front and center. There's hardly any storyline. And even if there is a storyline, it's pretty bad because the showrunner that you have just doesn't understand how to get the balance right between character development, story development, leaving those little breadcrumbs, RTD and Stephen Moffat, again, to a certain extent, were very good at leaving little breadcrumbs. Yeah, Chibnall hasn't got a clue. So for me, as I said, Doctor Who to be in a better state before they even consider Torchwood, or I'll accept it if Chris Chibnall's leaving Doctor Who and they give him Torchwood, I wouldn't be opposed to that as some people would be. He did and was involved in Torchwood before, and I did enjoy Torchwood, so I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite. And to get a new showrunner in for Doctor Who and start from scratch or start from fresh with a new showrunner, I'm not saying a reboot, no reboot. You can continue on from this era. I know some fans will say, no, retcon the whole lot. BBC will never do that, unfortunately. But you can certainly bring in someone that will show this show some love and care. I don't think the current showrunner does, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Doctor Who Confidential, yes, I would have no problem with that coming on, to be quite honest with you. Coming back, because I was a fan of that show and was devastated when it was taken off air. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. The only problem is I don't think it'll happen for series. I'd be surprised. Listen, anything is possible. I will say that. Anything is possible. But if they were to bring it back for this series, I would be shocked, because I think it would expose Chris Chibnall's flaws, his writing team's flaws, and everything that they do. And I just don't see it happening. But we'll see. We'll see. As I said, and I'll add this, it could be a possibility. Anything at this stage could be a possibility. But it'll be interesting to see. That's my thoughts on it. So, guys, would you want a Torchwood reboot, or would you just come up with your own idea? Let me know how you would bring the show back, or try bring the show back. If you wanted to even bring the old cast back, tell me how you would do that. Or if you would bring new people in with Gwen and Jack, let me know who you would like to see on the Torchwood team. Also, would you like to see Doctor Who Confidential come back for this current era, or would you like to wait for the show to return? But there is a lot of talk, and there has been a lot of talk of Torchwood over the last couple of years, as we know. John Barrowman has been very vocal about this and hasn't hid away from the fact that he would love Torchwood to return. So let me know how you feel about that. Would you look, for me, none of these things actually matter until the show and the showrunner get the balance right with trying to keep everybody interested. Because right now, this current era of Doctor Who, you could put on CBBS. It's I'm sorry, it's very dumbed down, and it doesn't make you use your head or think. There's no critic. You know what I mean? It's not like the RTD era or the Moffat era, especially the Moffat era, because he did a lot of things that baffled fans and everybody was coming up with. But that's what the show used to do. It used to get you talking. You'd come up with your own theories. Everybody has their own head canon and stuff. But also on top of that, it was in some cases it was very clever, and it does miss that cleverness. And I think it would go over a lot of these newer fans' heads, because, to be honest, they just don't get it. They just don't understand the history of the show. They want everything to change, and when it does, unfortunately, it's a shadow of what it used to be. This show is only Doctor Who in name. It's not Doctor Who. It's not what we expect from Doctor Who. It doesn't set it hasn't reached the standards that RTD has even set. Even Moffat hasn't reached those standards. It's nowhere near what those guys produced, and that's a damning indictment to the showrunner. So, and I don't think he can do. I don't think he could do Doctor Who, because there's a delicate balance that you have to get right. Maybe he did better on Torchwood because there was more adult themes on Torchwood, and maybe he does work better on that show. But you know, if BBC are even considering this, right, and they do make the changes with Doctor Who, and they do let Chibnall or they bring someone else in to do Torchwood, well, then it means they're going for it. It means then they want this to work, in my opinion, but I think they might be overstretching a little bit. I think they might be taking a gamble that they don't need to take right now. What they need to do is just get the main show back to some sort of steady viewership, steadily increase that viewership over the next couple of years, 2 years, and then talk about Torchwood and stuff. And I know John Barrowman, he's not getting any younger like us all, but I'm pretty sure he could wait another 2 years, So let me know what you guys think anyway. And listen, as I said, the TARDIS Zone Talks returns on Friday. Tomorrow we will have our movie stream on the Irish Geek. It is Uncle Buck. I was supposed to do other streams with some guys there that we had arranged. We will rearrange those streams and we will get those streams going. We will be back for Classic and the New Who watch-alongs as well. It's just tonight, as I said, Cheryl's a little bit under the weather, so I'm just going to, until she goes to bed, obviously, I'm going to be looking after her, making sure that she's okay. So listen, we'll talk to you soon. Stay safe, look after yourselves. Thanks for watching the video as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And we will see you soon. See you guys. Have a good one.